Hello there, and welcome back to Uncle Rico's Storytime. I'm your host, Uncle Rico, aka Nicholas Johns, aka Nico, aka Sierzonsky, aka The Rooster, aka The Mistake, aka The Walking Anger. But I am not angry, or frustrated, or irate, like I was a short time ago, thanks to the healing magic of marijuana. It's been a very frustrating day. Last night, I had a big day planned today, moving the backhoe, and had a setback. I started off last night, I was running down to Queen Creek, which is a southeastern suburb of Phoenix, the Phoenix area. It's kind of where rich rednecks live. Farms and stupid stoplights, and everything's under construction. It's just an overall shitty place. Overall, the East Valley versus the West Valley is a lot better, but Queen Creek sucks. The place I live, Apache Junction, is kind of white trashy and old. It's just a huge trailer home. But Queen Creek sucks. So I was going to run down to Queen Creek, look at a metal gas tank for my backhoe, and then run into Tempe to my buddies and drop off some goalie equipment because I got called into e-bug. I'll have to elaborate. But I popped down this main drag, this 3-lane road, Ironwood, and it's one lane, everything's under construction. And people are going 25 miles an hour. So my maps say, boom, pop over to the next road, Schnempf, something like that, and just go all the way down, and boom, you're right there. And connects over. So, boom, I shoot down there, get to this little elbow, and I'm like, there's no way to get over to this dude's house. So I go back up, and at the stoplight, I didn't see it because I sat there real quick and then I went. But at the stoplight going back out of this little tiny neighborhood in Queen Creek is backed up like a half mile of cars. And I sat there for a little bit. I wasn't moving at all for like 5 minutes, and then I got frustrated. So boom, I whip it around, pull over on the shoulder, pull up the maps again. It says, yeah, take this road, Hash Knife Drive. And so I was like, great, boom, that takes me right to the dude's house. Why didn't this come up before? So driving. It's a dirt road, but no big deal. And about halfway across the road, halfway through the road, there's a huge amount of dirt and like pallets and cement blocks and stuff. The construction company that's doing construction up there obviously put this up so people couldn't get by. So I fucking whip it around. I go back up. I go to the stoplight again. I sit there, and then I'm like, fuck this. There's another side road past the stoplight. So I take that way, and there's a sign that says no way through, and I disregard it because I'm like, fuck it, that's what they're saying. They just don't want the traffic. And then I get to another sign that says there is no way through this neighborhood to connect. And so I turn back around, go back to the dirt mound, and I'm like, I'm in a truck. I am supposed to show it the very next day. Today he didn't show. And but I start looking at this mound. I start pulling off all the shit. And it's the truck that I'm in is rear wheel drive. That's why I'm getting rid of it. But I'm like, man, if I try to go over this, I'm gonna bottom out. I know I'm gonna fucking damage my shit. If it's construction guys, they probably have stuff buried under the dirt. This is exactly the kind of thing that would happen to me. So I back out of there. I go to the side, and it's like balancing between a trench and the side of this dirt mound. And I'm like just on it, and I'm like gotta gas it because it's rear wheel drive, and it's like, and I'm like, oh shit! I fucking back out, and I'm like, dude, don't be something stupid over a $20 gas can. So I drive back out. I end up driving a mile back, away, a mile up, and then a mile back to the stop sign. And this is when I realized that why all these stop signs are messed up in Queen Creek is normally you have a quick turn, signal, and then it's, green lights. So down there, they do this. They just do the one way. And then they do this for, 2 or 3 minutes. And then the next one goes. Bink. So you're sitting there forever. And down there, there's only the one street that was backed up is people trying to get out of this neighborhood. This is the only fucking way out of this neighborhood. So, they get, boom, their short thing, and then that's it. They don't get that period to go across when the other lane is going, and then the other lanes was me, and then there was another car behind me, and we go right away, and then nobody's going for like another minute or two. So I got past that. The map took me, boom, down the side street right to this guy's house. I'm driving, and all of a sudden, the road ends. So I take a different elbow that the map says I should take. And it's a goddamn gated community. And I'm like a half mile away from this dude's house, so I know it's not his gated community. So I ended up leaving. I left my house at noon. It's 20 minutes away and then 20 minutes to Tempe. I left my house at noon, and I'm not kidding you, I got stuck in a fucking neighborhood for 45 minutes. I didn't get over to my buddy's house until like an hour after I said I was going to, hour and a half. I didn't get home until like 4 o'clock. I had been driving for like 4 hours. And all I had to do was look at a gas can, which I didn't end up looking at, and drop off some goalie equipment. So I got called into emergency backup goalie status. I tried to goaltend once about a year ago with a bad back, and the AC was on the fritz at the arena, so it was super hot. I wore the blocker pads backwards, which was extremely difficult, and right away my mask strap broke. So I had to clench my jaw to keep it in place from wiggling around. It was not a good experience. And we played a team that's made up of good and bad players all around the league. They just kind of took this team to fill a fourth team so we could have a functional league. So there were guys that were really, really good. And we had a lead going into the third, so they just peppered me in the third. I took a couple off the mask. I took shots where, like, with the weak points in the armor are for goalie. As I was telling a goalie buddy about where I took him, he's like, "Oh yeah, they're like right there." Da 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 da. I was like, so I don't know if they knew what they were doing. I feel like they knew what they were doing. They were pretty good, but they peppered me pretty good. I joked around that I might have made less saves than I did. I might have allowed more goals than I made actual saves, but as I retell the story, I realize that they were firing a lot off of me. But yeah, I think I allowed like 7 or 8 goals. I think we lost 8-7. I allowed 8 goals. I was so exhausted. Like 5 minutes into it, I was doing the reverse, thing in my head where I'm like, okay, you're a tenth of the way through. You could do this. You could do this. You could do this. And then I'm like, oh my god, okay, you're a ninth of the way through. You can do this. You can do this. Like, I was exhausted. So by the time this really good dude, skated in and scored the game-winning goal on me with like a minute and a half left or whatever, I was like, I just barely moved my leg. Like, I was gassed. So, but I got called into another emergency backup goalie situation. This time, all my pads fit, and it was a lot. It was a lot more interesting. I allowed 2 goals. I think 27 shots. I can't bend down, because of the back. I had a ref skate up behind me that I know, and he's like, interesting style, but it works. What's that called? I said, herniated disc trying to survive. Like, old man. So, but that was a better experience. So, that was fun. But, so after the whole Queen Creek debacle, I just went back and had some work stuff that I did not get done, and called it a night because I had to wake up super, super early to get this trailer. I had to drive about a half hour to get this trailer, and then about a hour up to where my backhoe is, and then another hour from there to get my backhoe up to the mountain. So I woke up at 5, I left at 6, grabbed the trailer. I was waiting for this lady who's storing my backhoe. I hadn't heard from her for a week and a half. She hadn't returned my texts or calls. Finally, she's like, I was texting her, I was like, please just name a day and a time and I will be there. Like, I gotta move it. And she said, Sunday at 8 a.m. I said, perfect. So I was there waiting at 7:30. She's got some sliding gates that separate her property, so I didn't want to infringe on her privacy, so I waited until 8. There was no movement or anything. I texted her, obviously, like, hey, morning, I'm on my way, morning, hey, I'm here, da 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 da. Never got a response from her, which is typical. And so at 8, I slide her final gate open, and I drive in there with my 20-foot car hauler, and I try to back it up. I finally get it backed up. This other lady comes out. She's like, hey, da 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 da. I go, please tell me Tammy's here. And she's like, no. I said, well, I was supposed to be here at 8 o'clock to move this backhoe, da 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 da. We got to get it. Can you help me? She's like, yeah. I said, so, okay. Run over there. I go, we need keys. We found the keys. I go, okay, we need a battery. They pulled out the battery, it's probably on a trickle charger, so we looked all over the place. We didn't have one. I was going to grab one when I left, and I didn't because I knew Tammy was going to be there, and Tammy's kind of a salt of the earth girl lady, and I knew she would have it all squared away. She told me a mechanic friend was going to look at it and have it running and good to go. So I figure I can take the battery out of my truck and throw it in there. And then I realized that I didn't transfer my tools from my other truck. So I called a bunch of people to help, but it was super early. Nobody responded. So I went to return the trailer. I was going to attempt to pop it into the backhoe into neutral and winch it out of where it's situated, but there was a car parked there. The lady that was there house sitting couldn't find the keys to the car. She said normally Tammy leaves it in her room, which is locked when she goes on trips. So I start driving the trailer back, and then I'm like, I say, hey man, this lady wasn't here. She ghosted me. Da 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 da. I'm gonna bring the trailer right back. And he goes, yeah, just leave it wherever. Didn't offer a refund, which I get. So I start bringing the trailer back, and then I'm like, man, this is gonna cost me $100. So I drive back to AJ, where I live. I pack up all of my tools, my batteries, everything I could possibly think of. I grab my gas tank. I stop and I fill it up with gas, and I drive back out there. I'm trying to she lives on this major street where people it's kind of a shitty crime area, so people just fly up and down this street. It's 2 lane, but it's kind of winding by the base of this mountain. It used to be an affluent area, and this street used to be like a main drag of mom and pop stores and stuff like this and small businesses. So she lives in this gated area, but it's a winding road, but it's kind of jutted like this. So I go in to fire in, and that earlier that morning I had no problem. I guess probably because my confidence was I had a false sense of confidence or distracted with how shitty things were. But I cut the trailer in too close, and I'm like, fuck, I'm struggling with it, trying to get it in before traffic came through. And I went and caught it, and I caught the end of their cement block. So I was like, fuck. So I returned it. I got out. And the problem was I couldn't see traffic at all, and people were coming so quick that I can't, get back out there. So I tried maneuvering around. I was fucked around with that for like 10 minutes. I think I knocked their gate off because I caught their gate also, but I get back into the complex, and this couple comes out that are living in an RV that she was going to sell to me. And they help me get my trailer turned back around this time. And I go back out there, and I start messing with this backhoe. I throw the battery in, and there's no gas. It's bone dry. So I was like, great, I bought gas. And as I'm thinking that, I'm like, fuck, I brought unleaded. This is a piece of heavy construction equipment. And so I go and I look at the gas, and it's a diesel. So I'm like, fuck. Then I get blown up by the lady. So I think the lady that's house sitting must have got a hold of her, or she realized what was going on. She was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, your cousin is sick on life support, so hey, it's fine that she stiffed me, she's got other things on her mind, blah blah blah. And she was like, I'll move it, I'll have a friend, I'll move it, free of charge, I'll reimburse your trailer rental, da 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 da. So she's great. I just chalked it up. I was like, fuck it, I'm done. So I'm done. I'm done for the day. I'm over. Everything's over. But I realized that when I was leaving the first time, and I've always had a temper. I always run hot, but I usually take a beat before I really do something stupid sometimes. Not all the time. But I was so goddamn angry when I was driving back. If I wasn't towing a trailer, I would have texted her like, "Hey, just to give you a heads up, I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Da 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 da." I was gonna be like, bang, 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 bang. I wasn't gonna, be rude or anything, but like, consideration. I'm glad I didn't do that. Obviously, if her cousin is on life support or whatever, but. So, backhoe, to be continued. I have plans to drop my storage container in this weekend, but I'll have to probably postpone that. I don't know what episode this is because I had to delete a couple. I got into it with my best friend. Not really. Second best friend, my longest friend, my longest and most dear friend. But I didn't really get into it. I imagined things and let that blow out of proportion. I recorded a nasty podcast and was going to post it and tag his mom, who I'm friends with on Facebook, and be like, "This is why me and your son aren't friends anymore." I was so fucking pissed. And that just got me thinking of all the stupid things that I've done. So I have a list. Today's episode is Stupid Things by Uncle Rico. So my buddy, I've got a very good buddy, Brad. I I've talked about him in the past. He and I were always very competitive. He reminds me of Matthew McConaughey, especially now that he is super skinny because of his drinking problem. I couldn't watch that movie where Matthew, Billion Dollar Texas Buyers Club, whatever. I couldn't watch that. I started watching it. It reminded me of Brad too much. But me and Brad were always very competitive. And Brad usually won. He was like 1A and I was 2. So we were always captains and always played against each other. We were very rarely on the same team. We were competing over this beautiful angel, Carly, who I apparently still have major issues with. In this rare instance, I was able to win Carly's attentions over Brad. Brad then fell in love and married Sarah, who was like the coolest girl in school, but she was also so compassionate and understanding that she would give time and attention to nerdier students or uncool students or special needs students. Sarah Matheson was just the embodiment of beauty inside and out. Brad and Sarah got married. I kind of had a weird thing with Carly. I went away in the Navy. She started dating somebody, blah, blah, blah. We were off and on. Brad and Sarah got married, and a week later, Sarah died in a very tragic car accident. At that point, I was talking with Carly seriously about as a couple. Brad told me after the funeral that his parents were taking him on a cruise, and this was back in the days when you write letters still and text, and texting was just starting. Carly had texted me that she was going on this cruise, and you'll never guess who's going on this cruise. Who I found out is going on this cruise, and I was like, maybe it's Brad, and maybe you guys are going to fool around while you're down there. So I didn't say that at the time. I waited until she left, and then I wrote her a letter, and I was like, hey, I know what's going to happen down there. It's all good. I don't blame you. And it did happen, and that messed me up. I didn't realize it at the moment. I mean, you very rarely do, but that coupled with my dad passing probably had a huge reason on my commitment issues that I had when I was younger dating. But Carly's always been one. She ended up marrying a really good buddy of mine. Not a really good buddy, but a buddy that was a really good guy. And that apparently didn't work out. But she was kind of always the one where anytime I'd go back home, I'd kind of hope that I'd run into her or whatever, and I kind of would try to keep tabs on her, but she's not into social media and stuff. So, but as I was talking to Brad about this divorce and everything, Carly's name had come up about her being single, and I was like, dude, now that you're single, you can run through Holman, but leave Carly alone. And there was like a long pause, and then I imagined his voice his voice seemed to raise, and he was like, what? No, that's long overdue. That's way done, man. And then it seemed like he hung up quick. Then after that, I was back home, and he was really excited to be single with me because I've always been single and he's always been married. So he was like, he had said a couple of times through this divorce process, he was like, well, at least we can go out as, single dudes, da-da-da-da-da. So when I went back home for this concert, I was surprised that he blew me off. I gave him a heads up. I called him when I was there. I texted him when he was there. I even sent him a picture of his first work, because when we were in high school, he was like the one of the first guys that had a job. So we'd go over and fuck around with him at his work and stuff. And I sent him a picture of it, and he never called me back. So after the trip, I'm here about a week ago, and it was late at night, and he posts a picture of himself on vacation with his older brother, and there's two girls dancing on the bar. And as soon as I started scrolling down, I mean, I didn't even look at his name. I must have subliminally looked at his name and connected it, because as soon as I started scrolling down and I saw this long brown curly hair, I was like, son of a bitch, that's Carly. And the way she danced, too, she never shows her face, but it's just this long, dark, shiny black hair. Carly she was adopted, I believe. She's Native American, though. Gorgeous, tinier. She had this adorable little lip thing. But as soon as I see her, and she's like dances like Carly too. Like Carly would dance like she was on the dance team Palms, and but when she would dance, she wasn't like it wasn't for anybody else. It was like she was in her kind of own little world. I mean, it wasn't like she would dance off rhythm, but it was like a different I don't know. But I watched this fucking video like 20 or 30 times, probably more like 30. And uh started imagining shit, and put two and two together, and then thought about all the back stuff, why he blew me up, blah blah blah. I'm like, oh, I felt bad, didn't want to lie about this ongoing thing with Carly. And so I texted him. I was like, dude, you should have just been honest. And then no response. And then I was like, betrayal times two. I tried to sleep, and my mind was just freaking out. So I was like, all right, well, the whole point of this podcast is to vent and get shit off of my chest. So I get up and I rip out a podcast. And of course, I started drinking, because drinking will help me sleep. It won't. It'll just make me want to drink more. But that was the thinking that night. So I rip out a podcast, I upload it, and I'm going to tag his mom on Facebook and be like, this is why me and your son aren't friends anymore. And I uploaded it uploaded because I went out and took a cigarette. It was a quick one. And I was going to post it, and I was like, dude, take a beat, So I went to sleep. Woke up the next day, my buddy Brad's like, what are you talking about? And I go, dude, who are you down there with? And he's like, I'm with Brian and his wife and my niece, his daughter. And I was like, oh really? Because it looks like two chicks dancing on the bar. He's like, yeah, that was Brian's wife and his niece, and my parents were gonna come, but they're sick. And I was like, I go, Jesus Christ, dude. I was like, I think I flipped out. Like, I thought that was Carly. And Brad, I love Brad, but he's not. He said, he's like, he goes, no, that's that's my niece. So I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, if I would have posted, I thought, like, if I would have posted that just obnoxious fucking flipping out lunatic podcast, and then I find out that it's his niece, it just is even more embarrassing. So as we're talking, I realized that the niece was the blonde skinny one, and for some reason I thought I had met Brian's wife, and I thought she was blonde. So as I'm talking to Brad, I now find out that the one that I thought was Carly is actually Brian's wife. So I'm an idiot, and I have the good thing about it is a full night of me thinking about Carly and imagining her being a bitch and all the nasty words that a guy will think of. It finally did kind of give me closure because I believe I had put her up on a pedestal, and I don't know. I still have issues, and I know I still have my anger issues, but uh, I do stupid things also. Um, I was thinking about other stupid things that I do or have done. I think I was like 18 years old when I realized that the Minnesota Twins are named after the Twin Cities. Right around that time, I also realized that this is actually pretty cool. Not a lot of people know this, but the old Milwaukee Brewers insignia, the mitt is oh, that doesn't work. Milwaukee M and a B, which is pretty awesome. When I was younger, my one of my favorite authors was my God, damn it, what is her name? Just so angry and frustrated. S.L. Hinton, the lady that wrote The Outsiders. She wrote a bunch of books, The Outsiders, Rumblefish, a lot of books about outside youth that would get in trouble, troublesome youth. I guess trashier youth, outcast youth, which I was, and when I found out that the author was an older woman, I was just floored because she seemed to encapture the emotions and feelings that I was feeling as an outsider. So I was always really impressed with her. But I went to school with this girl, Sarah Hinton, and I had a crush on her friend Darcy. And so Sarah is a very, very cool person also. So it wasn't like that was the reason why I was trying to get. I was originally trying to get to know Sarah because I wanted to hook up with her friend Darcy. Um, but I also thought Sarah Hinton was related to the author, and I thought there was some slim chance that I might meet the author also. Uh, I thought Kevin Hart was in Digital Underground. When Kevin Hart first came out, as I can always guess voice actors. Like when I hear their voice on commercials, I know which actor it is. Um, and when I first heard him in either a stand up or movie or whatever, I thought there's a Digital Underground song. The lead front guy is DJ Shock, G Shock, and there's this other dude. I forgot what his name is now. C Money? Something like that, who sounds just like Kevin Hart. So for the longest time, I thought Kevin Hart started in Digital Underground. I'm an idiot. And also, I blew up another good chance. Uh, I'd matched with a girl down in Tucson named Cece, who appeared to be tiny and cute, but you never know because you girls are so amazing at taking pictures and filtering. All of the pictures that she had on looked like they were filtered, but she looked like a tiny brown-eyed cutie, and we matched. She was really proud of the fact that she, kind of has a don't give a fuck, no filter. I'm sorry, I can say things that may offend you type thing. And I was like, babe, that's perfect. She was really impressed with my future plans, which I have finalized, which I will talk about at some point. Um, but we were really vibing and hitting it off, and she was talking about her kid a lot being a handful and high energy, and I was trying to kind of talk to her about, the advantages of sports. Um, she was saying that, he doesn't interact socially very well, and that he's, super, super high energy sometimes. And I said, the martial arts would be a good thing. It is not aggressive, it actually teaches um, inner strength and being able to, you know, um, deal with deal with things calmly. So I was talking to her about that sort of stuff. Um, she asked me. I'd asked her for an unfiltered pic a couple of days ago. That never transpired. She just ignored that one. Um, And then I left her a voicemail. She said, what'd you do last night?" And I said, "Well, I met, because I had plans to meet a buddy at this bar and do karaoke. Not me, but he and his wife, they love karaoke. But not meet them until 10. So I showed up at 8 at my buddy's place and ordered a double bullet. My plan was to do a shot, do a healthy amount, a double shot, and then just do drinks all night and maintain. And so I go into his spot where his good buddy bartends. She used to work at a strip joint. We'd go in and see her, and she'd just kind of hook us up. And I order a vodka Red Bull and a double bullet. And her friend bartender brings out this snifter that's like this big, and it's like that full of bullet. It's like 4 or 5 shots, 5 or 6 shots maybe. It was a deep snifter, and it was probably a third full. So I hadn't ate anything. I kind of drank the vodka Red Bull, and then at 9-ish, I put down the bullet pretty quickly. And at 10, when I went to leave, I was bombed. I got late twice going to this bar that I would always go to before and after hockey games. I sat in the parking lot of this bar and I was like, "Dude, if you're this bombed right now, this is not going to be good and you should not be driving." So I just went home and I apologized to my buddy. But the next day, this girl Cece was like, "Oh, what'd you do last night? How did the night turn out?" Because we were talking about plans and everything. And I go, "Yeah, I ended up, getting bombed up so much early on. I don't drink like I used to, and empty stomach, da 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 da." I go, "I ended up getting retarded drunk. I just called it a night and went home." And didn't get a response from her. And normally she was really, really quick about responding. So I started kind of, okay, weird. Either way, I was like, "Hey, have a good night, da da da." She didn't. Next day I was like, "Good morning. How are things? You know, or anything planned?" And then like at noon I was like, "How are things?" And I'm like, all right, that's a day of her not responding, so I'm done now. My limit's like 3 or 4 texts. If you don't respond to 3 or 4 texts, whatever, I've offended you. So I offended her somehow, and then I listened to the message and I'm like, you know what, I said retarded. And then I started thinking about her son, and I think he was on the spectrum. So she is done with me because of the nasty R word. Whatever. If she's talking about, sorry for offending and no filter and everything, and then, she takes something to heart like that just because it's personal. She's a hypocrite. So, I have friends that have, special needs, kids, and they have, let me know that they don't appreciate the use of the R word, and I get it, but, the word, the way I'm using it, isn't, made to be like special needs. It's like the actual meaning of the word retarded. Like you're not up to par. My nothing is working. I get it. It's offensive, but I don't know. It's like if my dad died of cancer, I can't go around getting mad at everybody for, saying, you know, oh, that Antonio Brown is a team cancer. Screw you, man. A little sensitivity. My dad died of cancer. You know, I get it, but also, peace out, bitch. So yeah, I blew that one up. I was talking to my volunteer little brother. He did not save my name in his phone when I switched numbers last time, so I was messing with him. I catfished him 3 different times. I made him think I was a dude that wanted to fight him. I made him think I was a cute girl, and then I made him think that I was his classmate that wanted to be friends with him. And then we talked on the phone for a good 5 minutes, and I'm still not entirely sure he knew who I was. I love my little. So when we first started hanging out, Jeremiah, he goes, oh yeah, I'd take him to Denny's all the time, and I'd try to get him to open up, get him away from his phone. And he started telling me about a little gang that he had. Not a gang. He's not a malicious kid like that at all, but his group of friends that had each other's back, which is pretty cool. And I said, well, what is your guys' name? And he goes, what do you mean? And I go, every crew has a name. And he goes, oh yeah, right. And he goes, our name is the Foo-Foo Crew. And I go, did you just make that up, or is that really your name? And he goes, no, that's our name. We say that when we're gaming on their headsets and stuff. And I go, do you guys know what it means to be foo-foo? And he said, no, it just sounds cool. And I go, well, back in the day, if someone was foo-foo, or you would foo-foo someone, it would mean you would kind of shit on them a little bit. If a dude was foo-foo, he was kind of feminine or just very particular, high maintenance. And he goes, nuh-uh. And he picks up his phone and he starts putting in, and must have searched it, and was like, and then I started eating his pancakes. So when I was messing with him, when I was texting with him just now, not just now, but a couple of days ago, I was like, oh, da 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 da, I knew all this stuff about him. I go, yeah, I know, in the 5th grade you started that gang called the Foo-Foo Crew. And he's like, no, you don't. He goes, where did I go to school? And I go, Ida, whatever, elementary. And he goes, who is this? And I go, my name is Carlita. Because he loves the Latinas like me. When I talk to him about girls that he'd have a crush on, he's always like, oh, her name's Fernanda. So I said, my name's Carlita. Do you not remember me from, the elementary school? And he's like, what? I don't remember you. So I would totally switch him up. I curveballed him like 3 or 4 different times. But he was here in Phoenix living with his mom. And his mom had, I believe, 5 or 6 kids, and most of them were with different dads. The youngest 2 kids were with this guy that just got out of jail. She had 2 kids with him, and then he went to jail, and then they weren't together, though. They just had the kids, and then he went to jail, and then when he got out, boom, he latched onto his mom right away. And so it was Jay and the 2 youngest kids, and the boyfriend started picking on Jay a lot because Jay is a bigger kid, but he's still a pushover. Um, so this guy cut all of their hair and fucked Jay up. I was actually thinking about how I could possibly adopt him for the last year that he was in school, but they moved out to Ohio, and the douchebag boyfriend didn't go. So problem solved, and Jeremiah seems to be doing pretty good out in Ohio now. So he's got his graduation coming up, and I'm gonna go out there and surprise him for it, hopefully, because if he knew it was me, he sure as shit didn't seem to. But what else has been going on? Oh, this is so random. But the whole one of the earlier podcasts, I was thinking about different stories, and this one when I was young, when I was in fifth or sixth grade, sixth or seventh grade. How old was I? Seventh or eighth grade, maybe. Seventh or eighth grade. Either way, I had glasses at the time. I'd just gotten glasses, and I was a bit of a bully when I was younger, so it was hard for me dealing with those glasses. But I remember as a kid, I was outside one of the fairs from a small town in Wisconsin. So all these little towns have, like, Apple Fest or Sunfish Days or Trempealeau Days or something. So I was outside one of these little festivals waiting to be picked up. My dad was sick and passed away from cancer and was going through treatment options and everything like that. That happened when I was 16, which was pretty tough. But he was diagnosed when I was 14, and they were going through a lot of that, so they had forgotten to pick me up. So I was outside one of these festivals when this older dirtbag, turned out that he was 25. His name was Kurt Groth, and his dad was a police officer, and his mom was a police dispatcher. And he had all sorts of problems that got swept under the rug because of it. But he was walking out of this little fair festival type thing, and at the time he was 25. He was dating a younger girl, Tara Hansen, who's from my hometown, it turned out. But this was in a town just south of where I grew up and went to school. But either way, I didn't know either of them. I was waiting to get picked up. I was like 14, 15, 16, and this guy's walking out of this festival with his girlfriend and picks a fight with me because I was a bit of bigger. I was younger, but was bigger. So it's easy to mistake me for an older person, but he, saw me as a passive. I was trying not to meet his eye contact and stuff like that, and did not find her attractive at all. So when he starts chirping at me, he's like, what the fuck you looking at my woman, da da da, you better not fucking look, da 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 again, I'll beat your fucking ass, da 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 da. So he goes walking, he grabs her hand, he goes walking off, and I'm like, they go walking off this way, and I'm, not looking. I'm like 15, 16 years old, trying not to get my ass beat, and I'm like looking out this way, and then when I finally turned back around after, maybe a minute, he had walked down the block and was sitting there with her, just waiting there for me to look. And then as soon as I looked over there, I saw him and, put my head down again right away, but, he was like, motherfucker, he like let go of her hand and fucking went back and popped me one in the face. And I've always had a brick jaw, so when he hit me, I was sitting down the whole time, And when he hit me, I ended up standing up, you know, and he goes, oh, you want fucking more of this? So I like pretend to like get knocked out, like I just fell down. And he's like, yeah, motherfucker, don't ever look at my girlfriend again, you know. Da, 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 da. So he goes storming off, and like my glasses are busted up. You know, I just got popped, just crushed in the face. I've been in, you know, at that point, I'd only been in like recess skirmishes with fellow grade schoolers, so it was more wrestling around, you know. This dude cold jacked me in the face with an uppercut, busted my glasses all up. I didn't know where to go, so I went to I had an old classmate, Jason, and his parents. I went to his parents' house, was crying, you know, and stuff, busted glasses and everything, and so they called. They got a hold of my dad. My dad came and picked me up and was irate, you know, probably a little embarrassed from, you know, forgetting me, but also super protective, took over. And I don't know. So he called it into the cops and everything like that and put in a description, and then found out through another cop. Oh, I think I'll bet you he went to our sheriff. That's how he figured it out. But we found out this guy's, you know, name and everything, and da 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 da. And I'm not sure whatever transpired of it, but when I got out of the Navy, I'm drinking in a bar, and I see this girl, Tara. And I go, son of a bitch, and I didn't know her name at this point, you know. I just saw her, and I was like, son of a bitch, and I start looking. I walk up to her at the bar, I go, hey. And she goes, hey. And I go, this is a really weird question, but do you have an ex-boyfriend named Kurt Groth? And she goes, yeah, he's a real piece of shit, da 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 da. I go, do you remember when he knocked out a 15-year-old outside of Sunfish Days? And she goes, yeah, I do. Oh my God, you know, na 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 na. I felt so guilty. Blah, blah, blah. I go, well, he wasn't looking at you, because that was me. And she's like, holy shit, da 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 da. I was like, she thought I was hitting on her. But she's like, oh my God, you'd kick his ass. I'm like, well, if he's 25 years old picking on a 16-year-old, yeah, he's probably a weak son of a bitch. But I wonder whatever happened to that. Fucking cops. But that got me thinking of this other story, which is totally random also, but a stupid thing. Not that I did anything wrong in the knockout story, but this one, we were stupid. I get out of the Navy. I go to, I visit my Navy buddy in Chicago. I believe he is still active duty. I'm out and discharged. We're hanging out with his buddy that does not have any naval affiliation at all. That was the time we went to Cabrini Green. We went to this Irish bar. He's like, yeah, it's a half block away from Cabrini Green. And I'm like, dude, I have heard about Cabrini Green, and I'm not going to a fucking bar that is a half block away from Cabrini Green. Cabrini Green is this really tall apartment complex in Chicago, and they were known they had to put barbed wire up and security fencing on the top of this apartment complex because they would throw people off. And there were like cops constantly cycling around it. It was crazy. But he talks me into it. He's like, nah, the one street is Irish, the one street is black. Like, they don't mess with each other, you know, da 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 da. So we went to this Irish pub, had a great time. We're driving back to his house, and we stop at one of these oases. It's an interstate stoppage that has gas and, you know, food. It's usually a national chain of a restaurant. This one was a McDonald's, and it's right over the interstate. So we stop at this oasis, and we walk in. Me and my buddy Jimmy are just absolutely wrecked, hammered drunk. The driver is just a hippie, so he's just smoking pot. He rolled himself a floater and smoked it on the way to the bar, and then just had like a beer when he was at the bar. So we're at the Oasis, and I see a table of khakis, and I assume they're naval officers. So I am loud and obnoxious. All three of us have a breakfast, and then all three of us at one point go up and get another full breakfast. I make my way over to the table of naval officers and then find out that they're highway patrolmen. Like a lot of them. 2 tables together, there's a lot. So at this point, I walk back over to the table, and me and Jimmy are big fans of Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. The part where the guy is learning to tell a story, and he's telling a story about being in this rest stop, and he walks with drugs, and he walks into this rest stop bathroom, and there's four highway patrolmen, one with a dog sniffing canine, and so he's telling the story, learning how to tell this story. So he's telling it over and over again. But there's this line where the cop is like, "Buddy, I am gonna shoot you in the face if you don't put your fucking hands on the steering wheel right now." So me and Jim are just saying this line, and then, because we're so drunk, we're saying this line and then busting out into uncontrollable laughter. And we're saying it over and over again. Just being obnoxious fucking drunk assholes. So those guys leave, my boys leave, they clean up, they leave, I'm the last one leaving. So I'm putting my tray in the garbage, and I walk past the tray of khakis, and as I'm walking past them, I hear like all the chairs slide out and them getting their stuff, and one of the guys is like, "It's go time." So I walk out to the parking lot, and I'm like, "Hey guys, like let's hold on a second before we get into the vehicle. We're gonna get pulled over for what we did in there." And the driver's like, "It's all good, man. Like I smoked that floater. It's all good. I don't have anything in the car." And I'm like, "I don't have any drugs or anything." And Jim's like, "I don't have any drugs. I'm active duty. I'm drinking, and we're just drunk." And the driver's like, "I'm completely fine. And so we get back into the car, and we get onto the interstate, and we go about, I don't know, maybe a half mile, and boom, like there's cops on an on-ramp, there's cops up in front, there's cops on the side, there's cops in the back, and they all converge on us. Boom! We're surrounded by like 8 cop cars. And so we pull over, and me and Jimbo are drunk and obnoxious, so they come up with like weapons drawn and everything, and we're not phased. We're kind of fucking with them, they're shining their the flashlights in our face, and driver is out doing the field sobriety test, and they're still fucking with us. And I start saying that I recognize them, like, "Hey, you seem familiar. I feel like I've seen you before." And like it's cold, it's in Chicago, so the windows are up, but I'm like yelling it through the glass, like, "Hey, you look familiar too. I feel like I've seen you recently. Hey, weren't you guys at McDonald's? Hey, blah, blah, blah." Just being jerks. So one by one, the cars start ticking off and leaving, and it's just like the one car that pulled us over, and the driver is now up with us, and we're like, "Yeah, we shouldn't have done this." And he's like, "No, we're good, man. Fuck it." So the guy comes up, and we're kind of mouthy with him and stuff, and we're like, "Yeah, you seem familiar." He goes, "Yeah, well, this shit wouldn't have happened if you guys wouldn't have been a bunch of assholes." And I forgot what we said, but the dude went back to his car and fucking roached his tires out of there. Like, so they had this huge sting operation to pull us over, and just because we didn't complied and everything was legal, they couldn't do shit to us, so they had to let us go. which, oh, pissed them off, I'm sure. But also a stupid thing to do. Also a stupid thing to do. Talk shit about Mike Tomlin. Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Are you guys fucking stupid? This dude has done so much, like, playoffs every year. And ever since Big Ben has retired, he's done it all without any semblance of talent at the most important position. I would say he's the number 2 coach in the NFL right now, behind Andy Reid. Like, if you were to fire him or let him go, he would be immediately picked up. Dude is just a stud. Like, shut your mouths. And it's not like, you don't hear him this much because they're 5-2, but dude's just solid. Anyways, unrelated. I put that down because I see it in chat rooms and it drives me freaking crazy. What else is happening out there? The P. Diddy parties. I don't know why people are surprised at this. Dude, they're celebrities. Everybody has vices. Me, you, listening at home to this shitty podcast, we're average people. Our vices are gambling, porn, drugs, you know? We don't tell people about those vices. If you're a rich celebrity, your vices are different. People don't understand. When you hear stories about Mel Gibson freaking out about baby blood, that's... There's true evil out there. And these rich, powerful people, the normal vices do not suffice. They need to push that boundary, push the envelope. People shocked that celebrities have huge sex parties. Rich celebrities have huge sex parties. What? Some of those pictures, man, some hot chicks in there. I wonder if you were in a sex party as an average Joe, if you were, and caveat, everyone's of age. They're all celebrities. Let's put that right on the table. I'm not talking about weird deviant sex stuff. Just your normal everyday orgy. If you're at this celebrity sex party and you have a girl, I was reading this interview from this guy who was saying that he felt uncomfortable around P. Diddy, so he went and hung out with Ellie Goulding. And I was like, oh man, you see these pictures of like 20 celebrities, Leo and, whoever, I don't know, all these different hot, gorgeous celebrities. If you're popping around there as like an average guy and you have a super crush on one of them, I think I would just stick with that one, right? I mean, if you're looking at all these hot celebrities and you have Ellie Goulding or Rachel Lee Cook, you gotta batten down, right? Try to homestead that. Deep thoughts. Anyways, P. Diddy is a disgusting freak for what he does with the drugging and everything. I don't mean to make light of that. I'm actually waiting for Mace's tell-all. If you guys all remember Mace, he was kind of P. Diddy's boy, and then Mace gave it all up and became a preacher. So, and I always wondered if he didn't see something and was like, whoa, I don't want to be a part of this. And I feel like he's kept his mouth shut, relatively quiet, hasn't said much about this P. Diddy stuff, so I'm waiting for that bombshell to drop. And I think anything that dude says, you can pretty much take to the bank. He's always seemed like a pretty straight shooter. But that is enough with our random thoughts. I wanted to end on a good note, And I will talk more about this in an upcoming podcast because I need to do a recap of my doggies and how I got them. But and do a podcast without any swearing because what I would like to do when I retire with my land up on the mountain is officially start a dog rescue, the Mount Pleasant Dog Rescue. I want to partner up with kill shelters and take their dogs that have problems getting adopted and bring them up to the mountain and do some work with them, show them some love, retrain them, and then match them up with veterans. I would like it to be a nonprofit charity thing based on donations. I would really like it, if it's successful, to also start a side network of counseling, just positive affirmation for people that don't have that option. I think our dependency on social media is entirely negative. I think we all pick up the phone in the morning and we look at Facebook, we look at Twitter, we look at Instagram, we look at our dating apps if we're single, and very rarely do we see something that is uplifting. For the most part, we get angry, we get beat down, and for veterans, some veterans don't have that option. Some veterans are not forthcoming with their emotions or sharing or just can't. Some people struggle with it. Some are tough guys that don't want to show chinks in their armor. For me, I have kind of withdrawn. I'm lucky enough to have a job where I don't have to deal with public anymore, and I very rarely get out of my house. I find myself making excuses for social events and copping out of my really good friends' things. And I know it's not healthy, thus the podcast. The reason why I was lucky enough to adopt Zeus was he's an intimidating dog. But in all my years around dogs, I have never met a smarter, more compassionate, big old lug than Zeus. And it breaks my heart when I think that he was moments away from being put down. Not moments, but, a couple of weeks from ending such an amazing, bright spot in this world. So, I think if I can match up and save one Zeus and match him up with me, I would say that that is a successful endeavor. But I'm hoping this is something that is even better than that, where we might be able to impact a lot of lives. So stay tuned. I'm going to have more information on the Mount Pleasant Dog Rescue. Until then, peace out.